lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Rodney.
Oh, he's the same yesterday, every day, never changed, no. afternoon. Actually, I'm like here. I'm like, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Praise God. This is Crisis Radio Show. It's a Friday night, gorgeous Friday night in Arizona. This is your co-host of Crisis Show, Christina Eve, and Dr. I call him Doc, a.k.a. Doc, Dr. Rodney Pearson is not going to be on tonight. He may, pop through and check in on us and hear the interview, but, just that time of year where some cold and flus are going around, and so that's what's going on, but we are excited about this show tonight. We have a very special guest, which happens to be a really good friend of mine, an amazing, amazing, amazing woman. Helona, are you on the line tonight? Okay, I'm not sure if she's called in just yet. But I do want to thank everyone. Dr. Rodney Pearson, Dr. Pearson and I have been working behind the scenes. Yes, we have. We are excited. And just about Crisis in itself is a show, for radio and television as far as us celebrating trauma, celebrating just survivors of trauma, not celebrating trauma itself, but survivors of trauma. And I myself have gone through some things. We've all, in one way or another, we all go through, just the vicissitudes of life. There's things that always go on. And sometimes, though, through traumatic experiences, it's life-changing. The things that occur coming out of it, things that you have to overcome and face and experience, and plus that development. Hey, Lona, are you on the line just yet? Okay, I'm going to have to message her. So just speaking of trauma right now, I don't know with Kimmy, the producer, if I just wanted to see if our guest is on the line. Okay. Sorry about this tonight, guys. Just having some... Okay, because our guest, actually, I know she had a really long day today, so I know she's probably just... Plus, with the time change and with Arizona, just messaging her real quick. All righty, just getting that underway right there. Just had to send her a quick message out, let her know, hey, we're on the line, make sure she's okay too. But yeah, she is an incredible woman. I just let her know right now. Very good friend. Okay, she's actually she just messaged me. She's calling in right now. So the producer's going to be letting her in on the show. But yes, I'm just as far as surviving, she and I happened to meet each other working on set, being on the road, so we rode around the same vehicle. We were able to, work in some it was from 110-degree weather out in the desert to, dry heat, literally in sand dunes to, she was just on the go working. I'm just looking at her heart, her passion, amazing woman, and no complaints whatsoever. Of course, there's other people complaining. We had a team of 3 or 4 cars, and here she is, no complaint, doing what she's doing, enjoying herself, having a great time. And we ended up talking, and in talking, we're just sitting in the car talking one day, and she's sharing part of her testimony, and I'm looking at her like, no way, and that's what we're about with Crisis, is that we see people for who they are now. We see people smiling. We see people in business. We see people advancing in life and doing great things for others. So with Crisis, we're able to get down to who they are, what experiences, what life experiences, what traumatic experiences did they have to overcome to be who they are today. And hey, Lona, are you on the line with us tonight?
I am. I'm on the line.
Yay! There she is. There she is.
I am here.
Okay, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. No, yeah, so welcome to Crisis. I was kind of lonesome earlier getting on a call, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't. No, that's perfectly fine because I know, like, with the time difference, just things happen, and I know you had a really long day today. And, like, I was letting everyone know, how we connected, how we met, and, how, and working together, even outside of that, I mean, being a part of, just community outreach, you're just an amazing, amazing person, an amazing mother, friend. But you actually have a couple of stories
yes, I have,
that I know
stories.
of. One was very recent, and then something I know. But so tonight I want you to be able to first share a little bit about who you are, just kind of, what you're doing now a little bit. We're going to get to that, like, what you're doing now. But just, who is Helona? Who are you? Like, just want to share a little bit about yourself first before we get into everything.
Okay. The best description I have of myself at the moment is someone. Helona is someone who has gained strength in her struggles. Helona is someone who's overcome so much in her life, but continues to show others, whether that be other women or my own children, that no matter what happens in life or what you go through, you have the ability to overcome. That everything that you need is within you and within reach.
Wow.
So that's who I am.
Exactly. Yes, and that's what I love about you. So then share with us, if you want to go into, if you want to rewind back, if you want to share, recently, or if you want to kind of rewind back a little bit and share, because what Crisis is we are here celebrating survivors of trauma. And I know, like I said, you do have a couple of stories that you would like to share as far as, overcoming. That's like an understatement for you. You're literally the epitome of survival. So why don't you share with us then?
On my own.
Yeah,
There's
you're like,
so many
how?
people,
And that's why I love you. Yeah, because you're so humble about it. You're just like, it's no big deal. You're just so nonchalant when you're telling me about your recovery. I'm going, wait, what? Wait, rewind. You're just like, it's no big deal. Like, oh my gosh. But yes, if you can, those that are listening tonight, if you could, share a little bit about what you have experienced then when it comes to trauma. Share a little bit about, the trauma that you had to face in your life.
Well, we can
whatever you're
start
comfortable with sharing.
I don't mind sharing anything as long as it's helping someone else. But we can definitely start with my childhood trauma. I was born into a family of addiction. So my father was an alcoholic. I had a lot of adults in my life that were dealing with their own struggles. So I was abused physically, sexually, emotionally. So dealing with that was difficult in its own right. And then I grew into a teenager, and I picked up where they left off as far as having an addictive personality. So I was a very challenging young woman at that time. I didn't listen. I wanted to do everything against what was right and what was good. So I myself struggled with early on addiction, and I ended up getting pregnant when I was a teenager. So I had by the time I was 18, I had 2 kids, and I ended up my relationship with their father was also very strugglesome. I was in an abusive relationship, and I think that, it probably led to just being used to it, because I already grew up with my parents and seeing and watching domestic violence and thinking that it was a normal part of life. So I went through the same thing. I was in a physically abusive relationship for so many years. So many years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And rewinding back with the alcoholism, and how long did you because I know I grew up, my father, at one point, you know, he did stop drinking when my brother was 5 or 6 years apart. I was about 11. So I do have experience with, being around that, and as far as it, how did you deal with that, though, growing up? Were you more isolated? Were you more, because I know you mentioned about being a little bit rebellious, but how did you cope and deal with that? And what age were you?
For as long as I've known, my father was an alcoholic, and so it was just a normal part of life for me. When he would get drunk or he would beat my mom, or he would come back and beat us, it was just a normal part of life. So to me, like it didn't feel like anything was going wrong. It didn't feel like that was wrong. To me, it was just normal.
Wow.
So
it is. It's something because you grow up into it, therefore you have it, we do. We all, I've been there. You have that tendency, any form of abuse. We know in the back of our minds that, hey, this isn't right, this isn't healthy, but at the same time, it's like that's what you're pretty much, you become accustomed to it and familiar. So, wow. Yes. And then now you're so fast forward then, you're 18, you have 2 children.
Yes.
And then, so how were you able to deal with them? You were in an abusive relationship, though, at this point.
Yes, at this point, I was, it was, again, to me, it was normal. I think I pushed him because I was so rebellious, and I think that at that time I viewed him as more like a parent figure to me. And, because he wanted me to settle down, or he wanted me to be a certain way, and I was always at that point against everyone that tried to change me or settle me down, or, I think because I felt like so many of my own liberties were taken as I was growing up, that I wanted, to have control somehow of anything and everything, but I didn't control myself very well, and anyone that reached out and tried to help me, I went against them, and I pushed. I mean, it's not my fault, but I think the way that things went, I pushed a lot of the fights to start, and it eventually,
so you provoked
it got bad.
Pretty much.
Yes, I did.
What do you think? What do you think made you provoke that, though? Was it more like kind of just you're just mad, so hey, I'm going to provoke this fight? Was it like a way for you to get attention? Because we have, Doc and I have heard, someone else that was sharing a story. A young lady was letting us know that she actually accepted responsibility. And I admit too, I was in an abusive situation, and the first, relationship that I was in that was, of abusive nature. When I was ticked off, it was something he, with his mouth, whatever he went off, I admit, I would just snap right back at him, or, you know what I mean? We do have a tendency to do that. We're like, rare,
yes.
We will, aggravate, we will, because we're mad, we're frustrated, yes. So we do have that tendency to do that. So how did he react then? So that was just kind of like the heated fight thing.
That was definitely it. That was, to me, at the time, I wanted attention, and growing up, just seeing what I saw, to me the violence was attention. To me the violence was the way to be shown that you were loved, because so I pushed it, and I did provoke it, because I felt like if I was ignored, then I wasn't loved. And any attention, whether that be negative or positive, I was craving it. So, I think that by going through that, and then afterwards, accepting what's called the honeymoon stage, all of that all of that was part of it all, of being able to get through it and accept it and thinking it's normal.
Right. But, yeah. So then it's that cycle. That's that cycle right here. So tell us then how, at one point, so how long did you deal with this relationship, this abusive relationship, and how did it affect the children? I mean, were they too young, or
They were young, but they grew up with us fighting. They grew up seeing us fight. It got pretty bad. I was in a car accident in 2003. I was in a rollover. I was in an SUV. We rolled over, and I was ejected from it. I ended up breaking my neck, shattering my hips, breaking my femur. So that recovery was really long. And during that, I became addicted to painkillers, muscle relaxers, and anti-anxiety pills. So a variety of, I had addictions, and on top of that, the emotional, physical stress between my baby's father and I was really elevated, and I think that my addiction added to that. And we moved to California, and I didn't react very well to certain things. So there was a point in time, my father, he had gone to rehab, and he stayed with me for about a month after his release from rehab, and then he wanted to go back to his mom's house. And now that's where, we were so used to, my sisters and I were so used to him going and him relapsing all the time. So we were so angry at him that he didn't, that he wanted to leave us and go back to his mom's. So I let him go and told him just never come back. And he tried to apologize, and he left. A week later, he called saying, please let me come back. It was a bad idea for me to come out here, but I wouldn't let him back. I was so angry at my father because, he had gone through all the rehab, and, we finally thought he was better. So I was mad that he left, and that was 2 days before he died. My father was in a car accident. Even though he went to rehab and he got better, he ended up being killed by a drunk driver. So that kind of set me off. And that night that I found out that my father passed away, I called the father of my kids and asked him to come home, and he didn't. He wouldn't come home. And then the next day I found out he was cheating on me. So I think that accumulation of what, I was feeling and going through, I went a little crazy, and I ended up hurting him pretty bad. I stabbed him, and
okay, so rewind. I have to interject right here real quick. Rewind, because you're saying it's so fluid, but I know, people right now, I know because my mouth dropped. I know I've heard some of this, but you're getting a little bit more detailed into it now, and I'm, blown away. So not only were you in a car accident and recovering, dealing with, that someone had passed away.
My father, yes.
And then, so you're dealing with the death, the anguish of your father in the morning, and then you find out that he was cheating on you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so at this point, it's
broke. I went a little
so
crazy.
At this point, no, and that's because so that's literally like when people say they get to that point where it's just snapped, right? So here you're just I can't imagine. Yes. So you basically walked in and saw him.
I didn't walk in and see him, but
well, you found out. You found out.
I called his phone, and he answered, and she was with him. So.
Oh wow. So then you took matters into your hands.
Yes.
No pun intended. No pun. Yeah. No. So then what happened next? So what happened? You found out he was cheating, and just what happened next?
I stabbed him, and I got arrested because of how bad the injury was. I got charged with attempted murder, and that was all in California. So I went through my court process there, and while I was going through my court process, my case settled for the car accident because the car accident was due to some Firestone tires that were recalled. So I got a pretty big settlement, but I probably couldn't have received it at a worse time. So I paid, for a high-priced attorney and ended up drinking every day and just being completely wasted, I guess, in a sense, because I was out in California alone. I was fighting a case. I thought I was going to go to prison, so I ended up spending about $80,000 in less than 3 months. $56,000 in 3 weeks, just on a binge of not caring anymore. So I finally they put me in jail, and then my mom intervened, and I brought me back to Arizona, and things got a little better. I started going to school after that.
Well, at this point, how old are you at this point? Because those that are listening, they're listening in on the timeline, and sometimes, and we ask ages at this point because a lot of people, not at this point, but during your story, we like to ask, the age because people can relate, a certain age, like things that they've experienced. So what age were you at this point?
When
you're back to Arizona.
It was between 24 and 27. My whole California, going crazy. It was between 24. We started out there at 24, and I ended at 27. Came back to Arizona.
So for a few years. Wow.
Yeah. I got somewhat better in California. I mean, from when I came back from California and I came back to Arizona, things got better. I started classes, and I mean, it seemed like everything got better, but mentally or emotionally, I wasn't better. I healed physically. I put California behind me. I had left the father of my kids, so I was on my own, and I thought I was better, but I never really took care of the issues that initially, that I was dealing with.
So like the emotional issues, like, what was
yes.
still, it's okay.
Okay. I felt guilty for not letting my dad come back. So I felt that was my fault that, he died, because I felt like if I had let him come back, then he wouldn't have been in that accident. I felt guilty because my daughter witnessed what happened between her father and I in California. I felt guilty because when I was arrested, she had to go into a foster home for 2 weeks. I felt guilty. I just felt so guilty, and I think dealing with all that guilt.
And you blamed yourself, yeah.
Yes, 100%. I blamed myself completely. So I never dealt with that. Yeah. So eventually I picked up, and my addiction's all over again. I started taking pills. I just started all over again. After I was sober, everything was good. I was going to school, and then I just picked up my addictions again. And I ended up overdosing. So
oh my gosh.
I was in a vehicle. I was driving, and I took too many pills, and I was in a drive-through, and I believe I passed out. And there's people behind me. They got out of their vehicle and saw that I was slumped over, and they pulled me out, and they did CPR until they couldn't do it anymore. And then the fire truck showed up, and they gave me Narcan and shocked my heart. And I came to for 10 seconds, and they said my heart stopped again. So they took me to the emergency room, and my heart stopped 4 more times there for several minutes in between. And
see, you're like storytelling, and then your heart stopped, and I'm just sitting here saying, "Oh my gosh!" Like I was like biting my nails practically. This is, and I'm just blown away. And at this point, you're what, younger than 30 years old?
Yes, I'm younger than 30. I'm still
Yeah,
27.
and then now you're, dealing with, being a single parent, you're dealing with this guilt and, remorse, and you're blaming yourself. So you were led into your addiction, so now you overdosed. I mean, and at what point, because I know, we have more too. We do have time. So at what point, so here, what happened then when you were coming out of, did they hospitalize you, or, what happened then?
I was in critical condition, or whatever that's called. It's a little step above ICU. So I was in critical condition. I woke up in critical condition, and the doctor came and talked to me and let me know. He was very upset with me. He told me that the only reason that I survived was because my body had built up such a tolerance to the medication that that's the only reason I survived. He said that the amount of medication found in my system would have killed a very large man, like 4 times over. And he showed me the paperwork that showed, how long my heart stopped. And I think he was just trying to wake me up and make me understand what I had gone through. But I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was thinking I need some more painkillers so I can go back to sleep. And so I heard them calling the police because I was awake. So I thought they were calling my mom, and the police were on their way to question me. So I took all of the IV out of myself, and I ran out of the hospital. And I ran. I was being chased by the security, and I jumped onto the first bus, and the guy let me on, and I ended up taking that bus straight to, the person that I would buy pills from, and got more. And I freaked out. Later that night, my mom called me, and I answered, and I let her pick me up. She took me to a rehab and dropped me off, and I was there for about 3 days. But I was so good at hiding things, and I'm not a very emotional person, or I don't show my emotions very well. So they never got anything out of me. So they didn't think that I needed a very strict
wow.
rehab.
So how long did you agree to rehab, or was it more like your mom's like dropping you off, like, forced. No, you're staying, honey?
I was forced, and I talked my way out of it. And so they let me go like 3 days later. And thankfully, I didn't know, but all that time I was charged. I was charged for 2 aggravated DUIs for falling asleep in the car and being in a small accident, and for that whole overdosing thing. So I was charged with 2 aggravated DUIs. I was charged with something they found in the vehicle. There's some other. I was charged with three different charges. So not too long after that, they arrested me, and I was in jail, and I went to court. And luckily, I was given almost 4 years of prison sentence, and that prison sentence really changed my life. That was recent. In fact, I was released in 2005. I just passed my 2-year. I was released October 23rd, 2015. So I just passed my 2-year mark of freedom. And
wow! See, that's what we're celebrating. Oh my gosh, that is incredible! Yes, incredible.
Absolutely. But that prison sentence was probably one of the best things, not the best thing to happen to me, but one of the best things to happen to me, because it was there, because I did everything there. I went to every class. I sat with a counselor. I dealt with every issue that I'd never dealt with before. I faced it. There's a lot of people who say, prison is bad, but I will always be for it can do for you. If you take it seriously and you go to all the classes and you help yourself, it did wonders for me, at least.
See, so that's awesome. That's awesome. Because you have that testimony of, you we're willing to accept, having that mirror placed in front of you, which is one of the hardest, most difficult things, because I've rebelled, I've had addictions, I've had codependency, dealt with abuse, sexual abuse. So the things that we face, for me personally, and I'm listening to you because it sounds similar. It's almost like even when we make the choice to be better and want better, and this is just for anyone generally speaking, we end up having that fear and that difficulty of facing the mirror. Like we know, hey, I effed up, I made a mistake, then as far as the blame, but a lot of that has to do with, for me, and that's what I'm getting to as far as asking you, for me, a lot of that was more forgiving myself. Yes, I put the blame.
Definitely.
Yes, but we sabotage. We self-mutilate. We hurt ourselves.
Yes.
Sometimes it's subconsciously. Yes. Sometimes we want to numb the pain, or we want da-da-da. But it's numbing the pain because we're in that cycle of I messed up, I this, I that, I was da-da-da. We relive everything, that's past tense. But so for you, here you are. You faced all of that. You took advantage of, those opportunities to be able to be counseled, to be able to be. So for you, for those that are listening, with everything that you experienced, so here you are. What kind of advice would you give? Because I know we have a little bit more to go, but what advice would you give as far as what you have experienced and gone through? What kind of, good words or some words of wisdom, like what is on your heart that you would like to tell everyone tonight as far as your experiences and coming out of it?
Speaking
just with
from
what
my
you
heart
shared
right,
already.
Okay. Speaking from my heart right now, I mean, if there was any advice that I could offer anyone who's experienced or is experiencing what I've experienced, or even if it's advice that I could offer myself before I had gone through anything, is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, because nothing is really your fault unless you make it your fault. There's so much in life that we can't control, and so for that reason, it isn't your fault, because even just when you go through something and not knowing the outcome or not knowing how badly it can hurt anyone or yourself, or I mean, a lot of people, their reactions or their negative reactions to things have to do with shame. I mean, they're so ashamed of, and they feel guilty about probably the smallest things, and so you're so afraid and you feel so shameful over it, and you feel so guilty over it that you're not willing to share it with anyone else. You're not willing to tell that part of your story because you feel you feel ashamed. You feel people will look at you differently. So you struggle with holding that inside for too long, and it can be so damaging. So I would say forgive yourself first of all. Another thing is, in order to forgive yourself, you have to forgive other people. Whether they've wronged you or not, or you just think they've wronged you, you have to forgive other people. You have to stop letting people's opinions control your actions. You've got to think through every situation that you do and understand that there's consequences to the choices that you make, and those consequences could be good or those consequences could be bad, but it really depends on how you approach whatever situation you approach, and what choices you choose to make that are going to determine the consequences that you're going to face. So hopefully that you choose to make a positive choice in whatever situation that you're dealing with, so that you know that you're going to have a good consequence or outcome in the result of that. Every single choice that you make in life, it comes back to you. So you might as well start making good choices. At any point in your life, no matter how old you are, no matter how much you've experienced, no matter what's happened or what hasn't happened, at any point in your life, you are the only person that can make a complete change. You're the only person that can change the direction of your life. So you have to really think about that, no matter how old you are. You're the only one that can truly make a change. But you have to want to change, first of all. You have to want to change, and then you can start to learn how to change. And one of the first steps of change is going to be forgiveness.
No, and that's awesome. And I love how you said, because, you have to forgive others. And that was difficult for me, too, because, even like in my prayer, I was like, change him, Lord. I was telling God what to do. Change him, change this person. I had a list. Change this person and this person, because everybody else had the problem, right? But when, like what you said, when it got to the point, right? Yeah, not me, and this person, because I was, so, and then it gets to that point where, you're talking about forgiveness, and I think that's one of the hardest things for certain people, too, because it's so easy to justify, but this person this and that, and they this and they that, but we have to kind of step out of our experience, like what you were saying, but be able to look at this person like, you know what, this person is hurting too. The victimizer, the one that, caused, that person is in pain too. That person is struggling too. That person, because I remember my ex-husband, I was in a very volatile, abusive marriage, and he had addictions, but he ended up, with that, it was that, with that forgiveness, even with him, there was, after the divorce and, things had kind of settled down and, that forgiveness part. And I was literally driving with him to go to church so he can, play at the church. So here we are. I mean, it's like being on the car together. Oh, my God, I'm paying him. But at the same time, there's other women like, how could you forgive him? And it's like, you guys don't even know the whole story. How could you be mad at him? And yet I'm rolling up at church with him and I'm singing in the choir while he's playing, but And that's the thing, too, but when it came to that realization was that, and he even said that, I'm more messed up than anything, because I lost, the hearing in my left ear. I mean, there was a lot of things. So he saw how it affected the kids. He saw how, because they were distant from him, they had changed. He saw how it affected me, and so he was hurting even more, which caused him to drink even more, which caused him to, go into his drugs even more, which caused him to continue that cycle on in other relationships. So that's what I love, and I just wanted to bring this up real quick since, we're talking about this. Doc actually has no more domestic violence. There's they educate men as well. It's like the education that they have with it. It's actually an incredible thing that he's doing. You should actually look into that more.
I think it's
when we get off of this.
Yes, I think it's important because, I was a what would you call it? A victimizer also. Yes, the father of my kids, he was the bigger party. Yeah, yes, we went through, the emotional and physical struggle, but nobody can understand what I put him through. Also, I was also a victimizer, and I think that, domestic violence, it goes both ways. Another thing that I'm thankful to be able to accept is responsibility, because that's another thing that I was never able to overcome. I blamed everyone. I blamed my parents. I blamed the father of my children. I blamed society. I blamed everyone but myself. And it wasn't until I took full responsibility for every choice and action that I made
accountable.
That I was actually able to change. And it was once I was able to, accept responsibility and hold myself accountable for my own actions and my own choices, that I was able to actually see how much I was hurting other people. Because it was always like how much they're hurting me, how much I'm hurting, how much, everything that's happened in my life is hurting me. But I never understood or even saw that I was also hurting other people, that I was hurting the situations, that I was hurting myself.
Wow.
So
and I know
also.
Exactly. And I like how you were talking about that accountability, because part of the healing process is that taking accountability, that responsibility, for your actions up to a certain extent, and forgiveness as well. So that's all part of the healing process. And then sharing, like what you're doing tonight, sharing. I know that's part of it. And please, 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 I know you have, I really want you to include what occurred recently because,
well,
it's not,
that's the most important part.
Yeah, 2015, you're like, woo, you're starting over, and then you and I met around that time, I believe.
We met, yes, we met not too long after that. Yes, absolutely.
That's when we met, and then all of a sudden, wait, where is she? I'm looking at a post on Facebook going, oh, wait, what? So please do share what happened.
Started messing up again. I started going through the same cycle once again. Everything I started, I didn't, truly get into it the way I did before, but I did start the same thing again, the same blaming, the same anger, the same depression, the same sadness. I started it all over again. And I call it now, what happened was my wake-up call. One day, actually not just one day, it happened December 27th of 2016. I got mad at the whole house. I was mad at everybody, and I went for a walk. I went and had some coffee, and I was listening to music, and I was walking back home like at 8:30 at night. I was walking across a street, and I got hit by a truck. So I was hit by a Ford F-150. I remember nothing about it, thankfully. I woke up in the hospital, and again, my whole family was there and letting me know that, I was so close to losing my life again. And that was my wake-up call. I suffered a lot. I broke 6 ribs. I punctured my lungs. I had a brain hemorrhage. I fractured 4 vertebrae. I was pretty messed up, and I disappeared from social media, from everywhere. No one really knew what happened to me, but I was hospitalized, and I went through about 3 months of hospitalized recovery, and that was my turning point. That was when I realized, and I prayed. I got down on my knees and I prayed, and I said, what do I do now? Because I don't know.
You're like, enough is enough, right? Yeah.
Yes, because it's like, what do I do now? I was completely lost. I had no idea what to do, so I just prayed. I prayed, and I realized after that every single thing in my life needed to change. Everything. The way I approached situations, the way I thought, the way I talked to myself, everything needed to change. And I started to do everything different. The choices that I make from now, I don't make the same way that I used to make. The way I think, the way I think of myself, my boundaries, what I know I deserve, what I know I don't deserve, all of that's changed. My whole frame of mind, the way I think, the way I perceive things, everything is so different. I'm completely open-minded now. I have full faith in God, and I know that I'm different. I know that I needed to, that was the best thing that has ever happened to me, was getting hit by that truck, because that was my wake-up call. That was my realization that I was doing the same thing over and over again, and the same thing was happening over and over again. I'm so close to losing my life, but why? Well, because I never changed. So now I've changed, and I do everything different. I reached out and found the Who I Am Foundation. I reached out and found them, and then they've been a completely new blessing in disguise.
Oh, yes, and that's where I was going to get, because I know we're coming to close the show up in a little bit, but that's what I just wanted to rewind back to the truck thing really quick, because so here is like your wake-up call. I can't imagine. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just like, this is incredible.
I laugh at
you open your eyes, like 1 minute you're crossing the street and you open your eyes in your hospital and you're fighting for your life again. But this time around, like you said, and a lot of people don't understand that. Sometimes there's things, traumatic things that we face that are actually a blessing in disguise. And it may sound crazy if someone's going through something right now, and I'm living proof of that. You're living proof of that. God is able to do anything. And then some people may be listening that, don't really have that faith, or they may have lost their faith along the way because of, these things that they've experienced. And even with you, it seemed like you were just kind of going with the flow and just dealing with things. And I have to ask really quick, because you were talking about slipping into depression again. What were your triggers? What were your triggers that would cause you? What do you think a lot of that had to do with your mindset? Like, because you were talking about how you thought of yourself, and if so, how did you come out of that? How did you change your thought process to come out of your depression?
Okay. Well, I suffered from low self-esteem or no self-esteem. I did not value myself at all. I always felt I was deserving of everything bad and anything bad happening in my life. And so when anything started to slip out of my control, or whenever anything felt not right, I blamed myself automatically for it. So I would slip into a depression because I felt like, oh, here I go again. I'm doing something wrong. And and I would just fall into this. And then after that, I started to feel like everything and everyone was against me, because I was against me, because I fought myself so drastically that I felt that the whole world was against me just because I was against me. So after my accident, I realized that, first of all, I realized I'm here for a reason. There were so many times that I, could have lost my life and not been here, but that wasn't the case. And in fact, I've been saved over and over and over again. I'm still here. I'm still alive. So I started to believe that I'm actually here for a reason. And that reason isn't to destroy my life again. That reason isn't to fall into depression again. That reason isn't to have the whole world look at me see me suffer. That reason, I'm here for a reason. Another thing that I felt and thought was, when I woke up in that hospital, is, if I died, what did I leave behind? What did I leave for my kids? What can they tell? What kind of stories can they tell about me? And nothing was good. There was nothing good that I left behind. And so I realized at that point that I do need to start working on every part of me. That to me, my life, what I survived for, my children, they're the reason that I try so hard. There's a reason that I'm alive today. And I need to do something, but I can't waste my life anymore. So I started to think differently. Every time I would start to spiral into my depression, I would start to my self-talk changed. So I would tell myself, wait a second, your life may feel like it's spiraling out of control, but every time it felt that way, you would go back into your crying mode and just, be depressed, and the same thing happened again. So I would tell myself, no, we're doing this differently. We are not going to cry over this. We're not going to be sad over this. And I would just make a choice to try to be happy. I would make a choice to be thankful. Like, if anything was wrong, if I had some bills that were late and I couldn't pay them, instead of suffering and making it so bad, I would say thank you, because I'm alive and I get to go through this. Thank you, I'm breathing, and I get to feel this suffering. I get to feel this pain, because there's nothing better than having a life. There's nothing better than being alive. And so every time I started to feel like I was going down or spiraling down again, I would remind myself, but you're alive. You're feeling it. You're alive. And so, and now I'm able to come back a lot quicker, and I deal with things way differently. I think about things before I actually make a decision now. I don't just jump into anything and everything. I listen to people. When people talk to me or try to offer me advice or talk to me about anything, instead of shutting them out and instead of thinking that I already know everything, I actually listen. I research so much. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly researching. I'm constantly looking into ways to be better. And more importantly, I help other people, because I know what it feels like to suffer. I know what it feels like to have nothing. I know what it feels like to be nothing. And so I help out as much as I can. And I'm trying so hard to overcome my fears. One of my biggest fears is public speaking. I would never have been able to sit on the phone and talk with you right now and be okay with doing the things that I did, and I do. But I feel like I'm on a change. I'm on a life or a plan of change right now, And I have to thank the Who I Am Foundation. I'm going to bring them up again because they're actually they push me. They push me to go against my fears, and I'm doing things that I thought I'd never do before.
Yes. No, and I do want to jump in really quick right here because you have mentioned it twice. So, yes, please let everyone know, because we're in our last few minutes right here, let everyone know what the Who I Am Foundation is, a little bit more what it's about, your role, and how people can get involved and how people can get in touch with you. Because those that are listening, someone might have piqued an interest. Someone's going to, oh, my gosh, want to reach out to you, have questions. They may want you to speak, and you will be you did not go through all that, girlfriend, and not be able to be out and tell. And a lot of things, this is what I've learned, is that the enemy, we know he's conniving. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and you are more than a conqueror. And here you are. But, yes, please share about the Who I Am Foundation and how people can, be a part of that or donate. And, yes, because I know that has actually changed your life.
Yes, they've changed my life. So Who I Am Foundation, it's a national non-profit organization. It was originally based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, but it's also operated in Phoenix, Reno, Nevada, Las Vegas, Sacramento, California, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Tampa, Florida. The organization is predominantly focused on bettering our communities nationwide. It's our goal to help each individual we connect with define who he or she is by making available proper resources. And it's exactly what they've done for me. So each year our community grows further and further apart and resources are available. However, the public does not recognize many of those available resources. So it's our mission. It's our mission to just be as proactive in the community as possible. We're constantly retrieving feedback and we're continuously advance by tackling the new issues within our own community. We believe that triannual campaigns are the most effective way to address the issues that our communities face with. So we go out, we help the homeless, we feed those in need, we help children, women, everything that I've suffered for. I mean, if I'd known that there was foundations available to help me and to help anyone else suffering everything that we've suffered, it would truly be a blessing, and that's what I found within the foundation. It's because, of course, the foundation's mission is to raise awareness and provide outreach throughout the community via various events, projects, and campaigns. And we bring the community together. We create, we change the way people see us. We change the way they see themselves. And, we assist over about 1,000 people per month in multiple cities and multiple states. And the best way to actually look into the foundation is you can go to our website, and that's www.whoiamfoundation.org. We are also found on all social media sites, and you can find us by Who I Am Foundation, and it's based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Wow. Okay. No, that's awesome. And then, that's amazing. And I went to one of the planning committees, not the most recent one, but I have gone to one. Was absolutely blown away. I mean, you saw me. I was sitting there. I'm not one for meetings, but I'm like, I'm here. I love her. I'm going to support her. I sit down. I'm like, where do I sign? This is amazing. Yes, the Who I Am Foundation is absolutely amazing, and you are amazing. So how do people get in touch with you?
I'm on social media also. You can find me under Halona Pineda, and it's Halona. Last name is Pineda. I'm always available to talk to people. I mean, I know what it's like to have no one and to have no one able, that you can reach out to, or even trust enough to think that, or to understand that, what you may be suffering. But I'm always available to talk to people. Again, and if I'm not available, I can find somebody who will be available. You can also find me through the Who I Am Foundation. I am one of the volunteers, and, it is our amazing volunteers who do organize and execute everything that we do for those in need.
You are awesome. So what is next for you before we end this call? Any last words, and what is next? What is next for you?
I'm going to continue to give my all right now to my family for to Who I Am Foundation, to anybody who needs anything. And what's next for me is I'm actually working on writing a book and just some business information, some business entrepreneur stuff. Just changing my life continuously.
Wow.
Positive,
Seeing the Who
positive,
I Am.
Positive.
Yep, everything is just, and I just see you glowing when I see you now. From,
Yes.
you know, when I met you, then you have this accident, like, oh my gosh. But especially with the Who I Am, you're blossoming. I praise God for you. I just commend you for being on here tonight. I know it wasn't easy, and, you know, we were kind of asking, what question? Am I just going to go through the flow? You did amazing. I love you. Thank you so much. We're celebrating your survival tonight, as well as everyone else's. And I thank you so much for being on the show. And we are definitely going to have to sit down with you and have you part of our TV show as well. So we're going to do a recording.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we're definitely going to have you on again. And no doubt, we will hear from you, whether public speaking. I'm going to see you somewhere. Not at some convention. Exactly, because that's whatever it is that that we fear. I mean, that was in the book of Job. That which I fear came upon me. So sometimes those things that we fear, we're supposed to face it because the enemy will use those tactics and schemes and things to try to draw us away from. What I like, the term I like to use, and I'm going to close this call out, is the show. The term that I like to use is that the enemy will try to ruin you now, pretense as far as somebody going through things. He'll try to ruin you now to not have to worry about you later. And you, my dear, are in your later. There was nothing that could be done, and here you are standing. You're talking, you're victorious, you're walking, you're living, you're, full of faith right now, you're full of love. Not that you haven't been before, but you had to go through those things. And we just celebrate you tonight and just congratulate you for all of your experiences. And, just thank you for being a guest tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. So everyone, this is Christina Eve, the co-host for Crisis Radio Show, and tune in next Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, and we right here on Elation Radio, and we will continue to be celebrating survivors of trauma. So until next week, what Doc always says, agape. Always. Much love, everyone. God bless you. Hey, Lona, thank you again. Love you much, and God bless you.
Love you, too. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
In the middle of the storm, thought I'd never make it through. I had given up, figured what's the use? See, my nights were long and cold. Oh yes, they were. And I felt so all alone. Yes, indeed. I threw the towel in. I thought it was the end, but you stepped in, yes. You saved me. Oh yeah. You saved me, yeah. You brought me out. But I couldn't find my way. You saved me, yeah. Oh, see, I fell so deep in sin. Yes, I did. Oh, and misery became my closest friend. Yes, it did. I tried to break away.